These drug cartels represent a clear and present danger to the national security of the United States.
From the makers of The Hunt for Red October and Patriot Games, Paramount Pictures presents this summer's most electrifying motion picture.
The course of action I'd suggest is a course of action I can't suggest.
I'm appointing Ryan the acting deputy director, intelligence.
He doesn't know about it, Bobby.
He needs to know nothing. He's gonna know nothing.
I don't know about politics in Washington. I can explain it in 4 words. Watch your back, Jack.
You went before Congress and you got the money for it. You went before Congress and you lied. I never lied to Congress.
I'm not gonna say it.
Don't.
Be careful.
I did not sign up for this. Who authorized this? You see everything in black and white. Not black and white. Right and wrong.
I think it's time the whole thing went away. Then it should go away.
Harrison Ford,
I will not let you dishonor their memories by telling me you had nothing to do with it.
How dare you come into this office and bark at me like some little junkyard dog? I am the President of the United States.
How dare you, sir?
based on the #1 best-selling novel, Clear and Present Danger.
So this was basically the last installment of the original Jack Ryan trilogy that began with The Hunt for Red October, although Alec Baldwin played Jack Ryan in that one. And, of course, Patriot Games was followed after that. And then here we have Clear and Present Danger, which is arguably seen as the best of the 3 movies, which, I don't know. I think all 3 movies work very well on their own. I will say, though, this is probably the best one of the 3 films. I think story-wise, it does a good job of creating a complex story that works to the benefit of Jack Ryan's character. Harrison Ford, once again, plays Jack Ryan very well in here. You also have Ann Archer back from the previous film. There's also James Earl Jones is also back in this. But some other names in here that you may be very familiar with. William Dafoe's in here. Henry Tierney, who would play a character very similar to this in Mission Impossible, the original Mission Impossible movie. Donald Moffat playing the president. You got Benjamin Bratt in here. Some other notable names in here too, and a lot of the same people back from the first movie. And like I said, I think it is a very well made film. It's from a story perspective. I think story wise, it's much more. It's not as complex as some of the other movies, but like I said, the other movies are not terrible. I really like the other 2 movies a lot. Like I really like the ending of Patriot Games. I love that climax at the end. But this is a really good thriller, like a really good thriller that really works to this character's advantage. I think it does a very good job of keeping the tension high. And while I don't think it has a strong climax in this movie compared to the last film, I think it is a movie that is very well done. I think it's a film that really is the strongest of the 3 films in terms of like creating some good tension, doing things that the other films couldn't really do, and like I said, I think it is the strongest story-wise of the 3 films. Like I said, I like all 3 of these movies before, and I think it is a very strong film. It's a very good film all around. Another great film directed by Philip Noyce. You got John Milius, who wrote this. Steven Zazilian, of course, also wrote this as well. And like I said, I think it's the strongest of the 3 films. A good conclusion to this character. I kind of wish to Harrison Ford's portrayal of this character, I should say. I kind of wish we got more of them, but it would take a little bit for Jack Ryan to kind of get back on track. I thought The Sum of All Fears was not a very good movie on any level, despite the fact that it has Ben Affleck as Jack Ryan, and that's not bad casting, but that movie just is a mess of its own, and we'll get to that one when we get to that one in 2002, but at least they ended the series. At least the series has gotten better in the last couple of years. I thought Jack Ryan's Shadow Recruit was very good, and the John Krasinski Jack Ryan series on Amazon has been very good as well, but yeah, Clear and Present Danger, great film, good conclusion to Ford's portrayal of this character. Kind of wish we got more, but, I mean, we'll take what we can get. This is still a very good film all around, so. That's Clear and Present Danger. Let's move on to the next movie, and that is The Little Rascals.
Throughout history, men have formed secret societies based upon loyalty, fraternity, and one unbreakable rule.
No girls allowed.
one such institution
We're heathen woman haters.
is in serious jeopardy.
You are so beautiful. Whoa.
The Little Rascals. Universal Pictures invites you to meet Alfalfa,
Figaro, Figaro.
Spanky,
Let her in. Whoa.
Darla,
You have the sophistication and lady of a woman of 12.
Buckwheat,
Quick, what's the number for 911?
Froggy,
What's the last sign? Wrong sign, Porky.
Stymie,
If you were my kids, I'd punish you.
If we were your kids, we could punish ourselves.
and Petey. These kids have their differences. But when love is in the air,
This is a song about a tragic romance. I'm gonna put that boy out of his misery.
they all have what it takes to be little rascals. From the director of Wayne's World and the Beverly Hillbillies, The Little Rascals.
Alfalfa, this is a side of you I never seen before.
Playing this summer
Sounds good to me.
at a theater near you.
This is, of course, the feature film adaptation of the classic Our Gang series from the 1920s, 30s, and 40s. And, like I said before, like the idea of taking something from way back then and trying to modernize it for a new generation, it's a tall task, but there has been more success to it as of late than there hasn't been. Like, we looked at Lassie a couple of days ago, and that was an example of a movie that worked well for what it was. Black Beauty was another example. Three Stooges, the Three Stooges movies that came out in 2012, I know some people really didn't like it, but I gotta say, for what they had to do, what the Farrelly brothers had to do with that movie, I thought they did a pretty good job with it. I think that movie is a lot better than I think people give it credit for. And I kind of put that in the same category as this movie. I think this movie works well enough as it is. I think it's a film that really does do it well for the most part. I think it does manage to capture the spirit of the original shorts and puts it in a modern setting where you don't really have to modernize the characters all that much to be trendy of the time period. The kids act like normal kids. They don't act like kids from the 90s. You don't have the 90s cliches all over the place. And I think the kid actors here, they do a really good job of making these characters work as well as they do. One of the big things that really shocked me about this movie, is not the first time I saw it, but as it's gone on, there's a lot of cameos in this movie. A lot of cameos from various people, like some of the kid actors in here you might recognize, like Travis Tedford. He's been in stuff like Slapping the Stinkers, and he's been in a couple of episodes of The Amanda Show too, I remember. Bug Hall, if you've ever seen the American Pie direct-to-video sequel, The Book of Love, he was in that movie. And Cortland Mead is someone that you may be very familiar with, who is the voice of why can't I remember his name now? He was the voice of Gus on Recess. He was also Nightmare Ned. He was also Lloyd from Lloyd in Space. But then you get to the other cameos in here. You've got Raymond Simone in here. You have Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen with a cameo. Mel Brooks is in this movie. Leah Thompson, Daryl Hannah, Reba McEntire, Whoopi Goldberg, George Wendt. Donald Trump has a cameo in here playing Waldo's father, which is very awkward, but also kind of amusing when you look back on it now. And the movie isn't perfect by any means, but this is one that I used to watch a lot as a kid, and even as an adult nowadays, I can still look at it and go, like, you know what? They did a pretty good job with what they had to do with this, and I think it has a lot to do with the people behind the scenes. You've got Penelope Spears, who also did Wayne's World and the Beverly Hillbillies, but you also have Paul Guay and Stephen Mazur, the scriptwriters, who actually wrote some really good comedies in the late 90s and the early 2000s, Liar Liar and Heartbreakers, for example. The movie overall is very good. I think it does pay the proper respects to the original shorts. The kid actors play their parts very well. The comedy is okay. I like how silly it gets, and it's unapologetically silly. I think it is a fun adaptation that works a lot better than most adaptations do. I don't think it got the proper respect it did back then, but I really enjoyed this movie. It's one that took me back as a kid. I still love it today. So, That's The Little Rascals. Let's move on to the next movie, and I'm trying to remember what it is without clicking to the... I gotta do it anyway. There we go. Brendan Fraser, Steve Buscemi, and Adam Sandler starring in Airheads.
I can't take that tape from you. If it's unsolicited, I can't touch it.
It's not easy to break into the music business. But these three guys...
What's your secret code? I can't tell you my code.
...just found a way.
You guys are a unsigned band, and you broke into the radio station to get your demo played on the air?
It'd just be a little goof with a water pistol. They don't know it's a water pistol. They think it's real.
Oops. Look, all I want to do is be heard, and then we're out of here.
Okay, who are you guys?
My name's Pip.
The band. The band name.
Sorry about that. Oh, man, look, it's the demo's wasted! Well, what are we gonna do now? Run!
Hello, police.
I'm surrounded. I don't want to go to jail. I'm fragile.
Everybody on the floor right now.
Do you mind if I sit in a chair? I don't want to get all credited.
If she doesn't sit on the floor, I don't know why I have to.
Sit down! Everybody else gets to sit in a chair except for you. Is everybody okay in there?
He wants to know what your demands are for releasing the hostages.
What's he mean by hostages?
It's the inbreed.
We asked for a whole bunch of weird stuff. This way we can plead insanity later.
Number 13. Naked pictures of B. Arthur. Excuse me? I think you exceeded your maximum weight limit for that belt. Yo! Is everybody having a good time tonight?
What are you thinking about?
Swimming pools.
He doesn't wear a helmet, does he?
You guys are crazy, man.
It's a plastic gun! A plastic gun!
Now what are you gonna do about that? Junk style?
Improvised. The Lone Rangers?
What's wrong with that?
Well, there's three of you. You're not exactly lone.
No idea what you're saying right now.
Airheads.
I gotta deal with them. We gotta send one person out.
I'll go. One of the hostages, doof. Sorry.
The music made them do it.
Another great underrated comedy that has a lot of people in here. I mean, so a lot of notable names. You'll see them all. You see them in the trailer alone, but you have a lot of names that you can just tell right away. You see, of course, Brendan Fraser, Steve Buscemi, and Adam Sandler play the band in here, the Lone Rangers, but you see Chris Farley's in here, Ernie Hudson is in here, Michael McKean, Judd Nelson, Michael Richards, Joe Mantegna, Amy Loncrane, Nina Simasco, Reggie Cathy, David Arquette, Harold Ramis, Alan Covert, Rob Zombie, Kurt Loder, Mike Judge plays Beavis and Butthead in this, White Zombie's in here, Lemmy Kilmister. I mean, there's a lot of talent in this movie, and there's just a lot of funny moments in this movie. This is a very underrated comedy that I saw back in the day. I talked about it as part of a DVD double feature set with PCU. This is a very funny movie. This is a really funny movie that I go back to every once in a while. Like, it's a really funny movie, a very underrated comedy. It's very over the top, very silly. Like, there are so many lines in this movie you can quote this. And, like I said, it's just a ton of fun all around. It's a movie that I keep going back to every once in a while, and I'm just like, this movie was not appreciated well at the time. It did not do well at the box office. It was largely seen as a mostly forgettable film, but it has grown to have a cult following over the years, and it's satirically funny. It's a very funny comedy that really, I think, was ahead of its time, honestly, but as the years have gone on, it's a film that I always go back to, and I'm just like, you know what? This movie was a lot funnier than I think anybody gave it credit for. If you haven't seen Airheads, definitely check it out. It's a very funny film. You will not be disappointed by it at all. So, that's Airheads. Now, with that said, let's move on to the last movie that we have here, and that is Ang Lee's Eat, Drink, Man, Woman.
From the acclaimed director of The Wedding Banquet, the Samuel Goldwyn Company presents Eat, Drink, Man, Woman. The story of three sisters looking for a recipe for romance, and their father, one of the world's great chefs, trying to understand the ingredients. In this family, if you can't cope, you can always cook. 3 women with a taste for life. And Dad just tried to stay on the menu. 1 part laughter. 1 part passion. With a dash of intrigue, honor, and adventure mixed in. Eat, Drink, Man, Woman. From director Ang Lee and the creators of last year's surprise hit, The Wedding Banquet. Family life as you've never tasted it before.
Of course, Ang Lee is the man that gave us stuff like Sense and Sensibility, Life of Pi, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Just so many good movies since this movie came out. And this is part of his Father Knows Best trilogy. This is a trilogy that is considered the final part of it. The first 2 films being Pushing Hands in '91 and The Wedding Banquet in '93, which we talked about a little bit because I haven't seen that movie, nor have I seen this movie, honestly. I've seen a lot of Ang Lee's movies, but the first 3 films he ever did, I have never seen before. I doubt that this is a bad movie by any means. It looks like it could be a fun little movie, and just one of those examples where movie food just looks so much better than regular food. I mean, I was getting hungry watching that trailer, honestly, the first time I saw it, but it looks like a fun movie. It kind of has a reminiscence to something like The Joy Luck Club, which was a big hit the year before, so I mean, it could be a pretty good movie. I might check it out one day. I can't really say too much about it because I haven't seen it, but it's got my interest a lot. Either that or just really hungry because like I said, that food looks so good. But so that's pretty much all I could say about this one. Eat, Drink, Man, Woman.
This country and risk their lives for our freedom, that Americans can go to sleep feeling safe. Until now.
Sorry.
Pauly Shore is in the Army now. He does more damage by 9 a.m. than most people do all day.
You remember the movie Stripes? You remember how funny that movie was? The direction by Ivan Reitman, the writing of Harold Ramis. It also had him with Bill Murray, John Candy, John Larroquette's in there too. Remember how funny that movie was? Imagine if we did this 13 years later, take away anything remotely funny about this movie, and put Pauly Shore in instead of Bill Murray. You have this movie, and you have a movie that's pretty downright terrible. I mean, that trailer was not doing any favors to that movie. Despite that, that's probably the best way to sell this movie. But because everything else in it is just so not funny, and it's amazing how bad this movie was. Like, I can't believe that this was actually one of his highest-grossing movies he made. This is actually the 4th highest-grossing film he starred in, behind Encino Man, Son-in-Law, and I guess A Goofy Movie is part of it too, because he is one of the voices in there. But man, this is a terrible movie. This is a horrible, horrible movie. They steal liberally from Stripes. They looked at the script from Stripes and said, you know what would make this better? Put Pauly Shore in it. We'll take anything that made Stripes funny in the first place, and we'll sell it to kids because it's a PG-rated movie. And yeah, PG was different in the 1990s and in the 80s and 90s, but for PG, it's PG, man. Like I don't get it. I don't get it at all. This movie is so horrible, and like Encino Man at least has at least had some memorable stuff to it. Son-in-Law was at least trying. This was the point where Pauly Shore's movies were becoming so annoying, and he kept making these movies. And this was actually the last film of a 3-picture deal they did with Disney, and Disney knew when to cut him off. I mean, granted, yes, he was in a Goofy movie that came out a year after this, but still. Yeah, this is like, I don't know what else to say about this movie. It's like, it's a watered-down version of Stripes. It's not funny. They pack in these notable names in here, just like they did with Stripes. They have not only Pauly Shore leading the charge, but Lori Petty's in here, David Allen Greer, Andy Dick, Esai Morales, Lynn Whitfield, Glenn Morshower, Brendan Fraser has a cameo in here, replaying his character from Encino Man. But, like, man, this is just... it's just not funny at all. It's like they deliberately tried to take all the things that made Stripes so funny, all the things that made other movies like this, like Private Benjamin, all those movies like that. They took everything that made those movies funny and just said, we're going to put out this safe, marketable crap, and we're going to put this guy that we are trying to force onto you as the next big comedy star, and he certainly is not that at all. And I mean, what more can you say about this movie? In the Army Now, it's just a horrible, horrible knockoff of Stripes. Definitely one of the worst movies of the year. But let's end this week on a much better note. We move on to a much better comedy that came out the same weekend, and that is, of course, The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
If alien beings arrived in your town, how would they act? What would they say? And most importantly, what would they wear?
Come on, girls. Let's go shopping.
Gramercy Pictures proudly presents a comedy that will change the way you think, the way you feel, and most of all, the way you dress.
You actually make money by dressing up like a woman?
Oh, sure. You can make a fine living in a pair of heels.
The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
Do you have the Texas Chainsaw Mascara?
Rated R.
This is, of course, Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, which was a big surprise hit when it came out in 1994, and was actually the first introduction for a mainstream audience worldwide to LGBT themes. You're following two drag queens played by Hugo Weaving and Guy Pearce, and a transgender woman played by Terence Stamp, as they journey across the Australian outback from Sydney to Alice Springs in a tour bus that they named Priscilla. Along the way, encountering various groups of individuals, and of course, the title of the film references the slang term "queen" for a drag queen or a female impersonator. But American audiences will notice that this movie was actually the film that would eventually be remade into for American audiences in Tu Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar, which came out a year later. Which we talked about that movie. At least I've talked about that movie on the website when I did the Amblin Entertainment Anniversary thing, and when we get to that movie, I'll delve back into it. But I thought that movie was pretty good, and I think this movie is just as good, and you can definitely see a lot of the influence that movie took from this. And it's just a fun movie. Hugo Weaving, Guy Pearce, Terence Stamp, they're playing these characters so well. You get invested in this adventure that they're going on. It's a fun movie. It's a film that really, no matter what kind of a person you're into, if you go into this with the right notes, you could definitely find yourself really enjoying this movie. The comedy overall is very funny. You like the camaraderie between these three people, and it's just a ton of fun. It's a nicely made film, visually pleasing to look at, a ton of fun on so many levels, and like I said, it's a really fun movie. I can't recommend this movie enough. If you haven't seen Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, definitely give it a shot. You might actually be pleasantly surprised by what you get from it.
Today I'd like to focus on a most enlightening and challenging topic.
Sex.
More or less.
I know what kind of a force group can become in your lives. You tell things here. Intimate things.
In the heat of passion.
Why would you be ashamed of being a shrink?
Who told you I was a shrink?
Dr. Bill Kappa is about to learn things he never knew.
You're trying to play it safe, trying to see me as a case instead of as a female.
About human desires.
One of my patients was killed last night. He was stabbed in the chest 38 times.
Now he's probing their deepest secrets.
You know what kind of power people hand over to shrinks? Or maybe sometimes they hand over more than they want.
But somebody's secret will make him the next target.
Tell me about this Monday group.
There's 5 patients in the group.
Like 5 cuckoos?
No. 4 neurotics of varying degrees and 1 killer.
He's being drawn deeper.
I don't really know who you are, what you do. You have all the power.
Into a world he can't explain.
You've fallen into a trap.
A hunger he can't resist.
Oh, God, I'm not who you think I am.
And a danger he can't escape.
Whoever it was a maniac.
You think it could have been a woman?
You know what I think? I think it was you.
People are getting killed around here. Do you understand that? Run! Somebody tell me!
Color of Night.
So yeah, needless to say, this was probably the worst movie that Bruce Willis was in, although technically he was in North, but at least in North he was actually playing a character that kind of made sense for the purpose of that movie. Even though North is a god-awful movie, he's one of the few things in there that I actually did like about that movie. Here, he just does not fit here at all. I mean, I do not see John McClane in an erotic thriller and working out so well, but then again, Michael Douglas didn't seem like he'd work out well in Basic Instinct, and that's basically one of the best, probably the best erotic thriller we've ever gotten. But yeah, this movie just really doesn't work. Like, you can't buy into this relationship between him and Jane Marsh, the woman in this movie, but it's bad enough that doesn't work. Everything else about this movie is completely ridiculous and stupid. This has way too good of a cast to be in this movie. You got Leslie Ann Warren, Brad Dourif, Lance Henriksen, Scott Bakula, Ruben Blades in here, and that'd be bad enough. But it gets even stupider. Like you see in the trailer, like the person who supposedly is the killer is using the thing with the cars in the back to try to kill Bruce Willis's character. And it's just like, when Bad Boys 2 makes that look more realistic than this movie does, that's a problem. And you can kind of figure out what the twist is going to be at the end, and it really does not work. It's a movie that's just all over the place. It's sloppy, it's lackluster, it's not enjoyable on any level, shape, or form. It's a terrible movie. It's a movie that's just so bad. This director hasn't directed a movie in 14 years, and you can kind of see why, because this is not very good. Like, even the sex scenes in this movie are not that great. I mean, Maxim Magazine singled this film out as having the best sex scene in film history. I can think of many other movies that had better sex scenes than this movie does. Like, you cannot buy into this whatsoever. It's a movie that's just very sloppy, all over the place, trying to sell you on TNA, which is not really all that good. It's just a mess. It's a mess on so many levels. Avoid this movie like the plague. It's definitely one of the worst movies from '94. Color of Night, just an awful movie. Let's see if we can turn the tide around with a much more family-friendlier movie than this movie is, and I say that on so many levels because this one is actually made for families. It's Andre.
Take Walter Pigeon to love, honor, and obey as long as forever and ever.
She's the youngest in her family.
Tony still does not participate in class, and she does not join in with the other children at recess.
Oh, Tony, come here. You have to see this.
And the shyest little girl in Rockport, Maine. Until she meets an extraordinary individual named Andre.
Hey, Dad. Do you think he lost his mommy?
Who opens her eyes.
When I grow up, you and me can travel around the world. We'll never have to go to school.
Touches her heart.
Tony, since when do you like herring?
Oh, it's just for a friend.
A bad-smelling, fish-eating, raspberry-blowing friend?
And shows her what real friends are for.
I love you.
Andre, come on in. The water's fine. Got a seal for a pet. I just wanted to get him stronger. And back to the wild he'll go. Why let him go, Harry? Make great lobster bait.
I'd say this constitutes captivity, Mr. Whitney.
He's my best friend. Me and him are best friends.
We're going to take your animals. You're going to be the one in captivity.
No.
This is the true story of two friends who were closer than humanly possible.
And no, it's not that George Miller. I thought that was that George Miller too, but no. This is the same George Miller that gave us the thrilling masterpiece that is The Neverending Story 2, The Next Chapter, which, in truth, was not actually a very good movie, but, I mean, I don't know. This one was just okay. I mean, you have Tina Majorino, Tina Majorino, who has been in a couple of movies early on in her career. We looked at one of the movies she was in earlier this year with When a Man Loves a Woman. She'd later be seen in Waterworld, and then Karina. And then she took a break from acting, and then she kind of came back with Napoleon Dynamite. She was in that movie. And then her career kind of took off again after that, being in Veronica Mars. She was also in Scorpion, Grey's Anatomy, all these different TV shows. And, I mean, she's not a bad actress. She works here with this performance with the Seal here. The Seal in this movie actually is trained pretty well here, but, I mean, overall, it's an okay movie, but it definitely feels like Paramount's trying to answer to Warner Brothers' success with Free Willy the year before. And, it gets pretty silly, and you can see in the trailer that it gets really, really silly. Like, let's put the Seal in these clothes and make it look like he's a human being. And that's funny, and it's not really. It's just like, I mean, it's kind of predictable. It's a mostly forgettable film, but it's not a terrible movie by any chance. The chemistry between the girl and the Seal works out pretty well, but it's just a mediocre movie. There's nothing really all that spectacular about it. There's nothing really all that amazing about it. It's just kind of a movie that's there. But like I said, it's not a bad film. It could have been a whole lot better, but it is what it is. Take it for what it is. Some people have some nostalgic remembrance of this movie. I personally don't. I didn't really see it a whole lot. I saw the previews for it when I was little, but I never really got to see it until later on in my life. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it. So anyway, that's Andre. So let's move on to the next movie, and that is Damon Wayans in the superhero comedy Blank Man.
In a city plagued with crime, nobody moves. When hope is gone and help is out of reach.
Please help me. Hey, get off the car, you bum.
Only one man can stand in the way of evil.
Look! I'm a crime fighter!
No man
Get ready to rumble!
has ever been so bold. No crime fighter so brave.
Want to try it again, pal? Why don't you shoot him in the head? Yeah! Shoot him in the head! Uh-oh.
Save yourself. There's no point in us all dying.
I'll never forget you, my love.
And no crusader has inspired so many.
It's a big world, and we all have to do our part.
Columbia Pictures presents
I have to make the world a safer place for my children. You got to be with the woman first! You a virgin! Well,
Damon Wayans.
Please, call me Blank Man.
Blank Man. Now, stand back. Because these guys
Blank suits
are what the world's been waiting for.
Did you find a bomb?
Yeah, but not the one we're looking for. Damon Wayans.
Hang on, I'm coming down.
We're gonna have to deliver this baby.
Can't do that. We'll have to see her thing.
David Alan Greer.
Kevin, I can't hear you. What? Talk right into the bucket.
I would love to play with you, but now is not the time.
And introducing J5.
My plan serves me correctly. J5 should be gingerly on his way.
Blank Man.
Slapped me around and called me Susan. I warned you, Susan!
Boy, thank God for Blade and Black Panther, because I gotta tell you, black superheroes in movies did not get off to the strongest of starts with this, and then the year before we had The Meteor Man, and, I mean, this movie really does not work. I mean, Damon Wayans can be very funny, and so can David Alan Grier. This has a great cast overall when you really look at the list here. You've got Damon Wayans, you got David Alan Grier, John Polito, Robin Givens, Jason Alexander, Lynn Thigpen, Arsenio Hall's in here, Tony Cox has a cameo in here as Midget Man. There's a lot of potential here for something really funny, but it just doesn't really go that far. It tries to play it a little too safe, but also trying to be a little bit too risque. And you can't really make this movie work with Damon Wayans playing this character here who's kind of nerdy, but also kind of acts mentally challenged too. Like it's hard to really laugh at this because I really don't know what he's trying to do with this role here, and you see some of the jokes in there. They're not really all that clever. Most of them are just kind of mediocre. Sometimes there'll be a good joke here or there. Like I like the part where they show in the trailer where J5's going down the steps and he completely falls completely all over the steps and all that. That stuff like that's kind of funny, but like the attempts at gross out humor is kind of lackluster. And this director Mike Binder has made so much better movies, so much far superior films, especially later on down the road with The Upside of Anger and then Reign Over Me. But this was a film that could have had potential, maybe with a better script, but it just didn't work. It's a film that's just kind of there. It's just like there's not really a whole lot there that makes it funny. It's not really all that clever. It kind of wastes a lot of these talented people, and I don't know. I just never really got anything out of it. This is another one of those movies I used to see the trailers for all the time when I was little, and there was just nothing there that really made me want to see this movie, honestly. And it took me a long time to actually watch it, but when I finally did, I finally realized that, yeah, there was a reason why I never wanted to watch this movie, because it really wasn't all that good. And it's a shame, too, because Damon Wayans has made some good movies, and we'll get to some of them at least later on down the road, but this one's definitely not one of them. So, yeah, that's a hard pass on Blankman. So, with that said, let's move on to the last movie, and that is Eric Stoltz and Julie Delpy in Killing Zoe.
You in town for business?
Yep.
You need a wife for the night. Just tell me, I'll set it up.
Bonjour. Mr. America.
That's Captain America, baby.
You're in town for business. What kind of business?
This is where the real prize is. I can open it in 5 minutes. This means our friendship is in trouble.
So this is directed by Roger Avery, who you may know as the scriptwriter for both Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction. When he became a director, he really didn't have a ton of good movies to his name. I think there's only one movie I ever really liked of his as a director, and that was The Rules of Attraction. And quite honestly, Pulp Fiction may have been his only real gem, because after this he wrote Silent Hill, which was not a good movie, and Beowulf, which was just a passable movie. But yeah, as far as the director, he doesn't really have a whole lot of good movies to his track record, and this one definitely isn't. Even though it does try very hard, it tries to have this kind of sense of what a Tarantino movie would be like. It's too mean-spirited for its own good. It's a movie that I think tries way too hard. Like when Quentin Tarantino made a movie back then that was kind of like this, he had a sense of fun with it, but this one, you don't like any of these characters in this movie whatsoever. They're just kind of there to be stereotypes. They're kind of there to just be kind of mediocre. It's nothing but cliches and all that. You never really get invested in the story whatsoever, and you don't get invested in these two characters that you're supposed to be following, and it's just like, it just really didn't work. It's a movie that didn't really work on any level, and they actually made a semi-sequel to this later on down the road, which I never even heard of until recently. It's called Lucky Day, and that should probably tell you a whole lot about that movie, but, I mean, really, there's nothing more that I can really say about this one. It's just kind of a mediocre film, nothing really all that exciting, and it's kind of a sum-up of most of the movies this week. None of them really had a lasting impact, except either being not very good or just downright terrible, so not a good week for the movies this week.
Platoon. Wall Street. born on the 4th of July. JFK. Oliver Stone's vision has changed the way we saw our past. Now he takes a look at where we are and where we're going. And you will be shocked at what he sees. Mallory. Feared by thousands.
I love you so much, baby.
I love you.
Watched by millions.
We're fighting. Can't stop fighting. Nobody can. It's kind of like the Twilight Zone or something.
Woody Harrelson, Juliette Lewis, Robert Downey Jr., and Tommy Lee Jones.
What do you have to say to your fans?
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Natural born killers. In the media circus of life, they were the main attraction.
I mean, he wasn't wrong. I mean, that's kind of where we have gone in the world in the 30 years since this movie came out. I mean, not to this extreme level, but, yeah, natural born killers. This is what happens when you take the direction of Oliver Stone and take a script by Quentin Tarantino and mesh it together, and you get a pretty damn grisly, over-the-top, fun movie. I mean, this is a movie that doesn't really get a whole lot of attention, mostly because in 1994, of course, Tarantino made a far superior film in Pulp Fiction, which we'll get to eventually, but, nobody ever really talks about this movie, especially for Oliver Stone, who had just come off of these best-known films like Platoon, Wall Street, Born on the 4th of July, JFK, and then had a misfire the year before with Heaven and Earth, which was not a very good film. But this movie actually works really well. This is a film that really knows what it wants to do. It wants to talk about how we're getting into this. Sooner or later we're going to be using these lovers and mass murderers and using them to glorify them by the mass media. It's a satire of where mass media is essentially becoming in the future, and it works with these two, with Woody Harrelson and Juliette Lewis. I think this was the movie that finally woke everybody up and said that, hey, Woody Harrelson's not just Woody from Cheers. I mean, this guy can act pretty well. I mean, we've known Juliette Lewis can act really well, and so we with Robert Downey Jr. too, and Tommy Lee Jones, and you also it's a really good cast involved in this. Like Tommy Lee Jones is also in here. Rodney Dangerfield is in here. Edie McClure. In the director's cut, actually, Ashley Judd's also in this. So is Dennis Leary, Bret Hart, Rachel Ticotin. Just a really good cast overall, and it has this nice, dark, grisly visual style that really is so unique and so different than what we're used to seeing from these type of movies. But once again, that's the power of putting the direction of Oliver Stone and the writing of Quentin Tarantino together, and it makes for a pretty good movie, a really good movie that takes some big jabs at where media is going in the future, and in a way, they were kind of right, but not to the extreme levels that this movie does, but yeah, it's a really, really solid movie. It's a film that has so much there. It's both very funny, the acting is great, there's great bits of action and romance mixed in here. The violence and the over-the-top graphic violence is in here. It makes sense, and it makes sense for what they're trying to say about what kind of a story they want to set up. And it works really well. It's a film that really works on so many levels. It's a movie that really is a film that has had a lot of lasting power over the years. It's an amazing film, a dark, grisly film, and I can't help it. It's a great film. Natural Born Killers, if you haven't seen it, do yourself a favor and definitely check it out. So anyway, that's Natural Born Killers. Let's move on to a much more family-friendlier movie, and that is Christopher Lloyd in Camp Nowhere.
What if we made our own summer camp?
It's deranged.
No counselors.
It's brilliant.
No rules.
We need an adult to pull it off.
I'm an adult. Thank you very much. Technically. And no parents.
She'd be gone for 8 weeks?
Yes!
Camp Nowhere. They've parents.
Hi, Mom. Yeah, this is Arnold. Yes.
They've paid off the authorities.
You're a little short.
Oh, you're a little fat.
And they bought all the supplies.
Nice one, guys. Ever think about how you're gonna get it inside?
Or the chainsaw! Now, they're writing their own ticket for the summer of their lives.
Letters home to your parents so they don't get suspicious.
Don't worry, Mom.
Wait me.
We won't be playing with caps or sparklers.
Check this out.
We've had some reports of a gang of unruly kids in the area. You know anything about that?
Oh, no, officer.
This summer,
What's the phone number of that camp? We are so
screwed. All the parents want a Parents' Day, so we'll give them a Parents' Day. The nerds are here.
at Camp Nowhere,
What kind of omelet is that?
Popcorn.
Breakfast of champions.
kids rule. Christopher Lloyd, Camp Nowhere.
Try rubbing them together. What if you can't get it going? There. Oh, thank God. That was close.
So this is directed by Jonathan Prince, who I don't think a lot of people really are that familiar with, but I mean, if you watched TV back in the 90s, you definitely have seen him before, albeit briefly. There was a show that he did back in the 90s. That he was a game show host that he did called the Quiz Kids Challenge. It was on Game Show Network in the it was later rerun on Game Show Network in the late 90s, and it was on for only like a couple of years. And like he's also noted for as being one of the creators of American Dreams, the show that was on in the 2000s that was actually pretty decent, but only ran for a couple of seasons. So this is the only movie that I think he's directed, and I mean, for what it is, it's passable. It's a movie that is honestly, I think that the concept isn't really could have some potential, but the execution just really isn't set up. This is mostly set up on having a major star in the leading role to kind of be the comedic foil in this. In this case, it's Christopher Lloyd, and Christopher Lloyd can be great in anything if you put him in the right role, but in here, it feels like he's kind of forcing the comedy in this. You also have some notable names that would later become big stars, like Jonathan Jackson is in here, Jessica Alba is also in this, Hilary Tuck, Heather DeLoach, Wendy McKenna from, was she on American Dad? I can't remember if she's on American Dad or if I'm thinking of someone else. Okay, I'm thinking of someone else. She's actually the mom on Oliver Bean. If you ever seen that show, it was on Fox in the early 2000s. It only lasted a couple of seasons, but I don't know. I thought it was all right. But she's in there. Tom Wilson is in here. You see there. Emmett Walsh is in this. Peter Scolari is also in this movie. So there are some notable names in here. The concept overall, I think there's potential there, but there's just not enough execution there to make it work. It's a film that, you know what it kind of reminded me of? It reminds me of the end of the Camp Krusty episode of The Simpsons, where the kids are fed up because Krusty hasn't shown up and Bart starts this revolution, and so the kids take over the camp. And I would not be surprised if the people who wrote this movie took that idea and put it into this movie, which, coincidentally enough, that episode of The Simpsons was actually meant to be a Simpsons movie back in the 90s, but they couldn't figure out how to stretch it out into a full-length movie. Well, I guess somebody tried to do it here, and you can kind of see why it never... I'm kind of glad that never came to be, because, yeah, this does not seem like an idea that really worked as well as I thought they wanted it to. I mean, it could... Like I said, in the right hands, if a better script was in there, it didn't feel like it was very formulaic, maybe it could have worked, but as it is... I don't know. I just didn't feel like it worked out, at least in my opinion. I know some people might have a nostalgic feel for it, but not me personally. So that's Camp Nowhere. Now let's move on to the next movie, and that is Wagons East, a notable film from John Candy.
John Candy is James T. Harvey, wagon master.
We leave at dawn. Noonish.
He's got courage. He's got drive. There's only one thing he needs. Direction.
You're going the wrong way!
John Candy.
Maybe you'd like to come to my wagon tonight and we can talk.
Richard Lewis, Wagons East, rated PG-13. Starts Friday, August 26th at a theater near you.
This is notable because, of course, this is the film where John Candy was working on it and he died of a heart attack in his sleep while they were filming the film. And because of this happened in the final days of the production of the movie. And even John Candy's presence in the movie feels kind of forced in, and it was kind of because it had to be, because he was contractually mandated to make the film due to his existing contract with Caracol Pictures, who put this out, from the scrap film that he was going to do with Sylvester Stallone. And despite not liking the script all that much, he basically had to do it so he could pay back some of the money that he had as a stake as a minority owner of the Toronto Argonauts football team. And he agreed to make this movie. And of course, after this, the studio actually received an insurance payout of $15 million, and they basically had to use CGI, a body double, and script rewrites to finish Candy's remaining scenes in the film. Like I said, they were almost done with the film. And the film literally came out 5 months after his death. And while Candy made one more movie after this, which honestly was a lot better than this movie. That was Canadian Bacon, but not by that much. We'll eventually get to that one. But this was just a bad movie altogether. Like, this was a movie that was trying to be the new Blazing Saddles for the 90s. We've already talked about another one of these movies like this, Lightning Jack with Paul Hogan, and that was also a misfire on a number of levels. And sadly, this one is too. It's a film that just doesn't work. It's a film that's really lazy. The jokes aren't funny. John Candy deserved a lot better than this. And it's just a shame too that this is the last thing that he did before his death. And it just didn't work. It just didn't work. It's a really bad comedy. It's not funny. Everybody's wasted in here. Not just Candy, but Richard Lewis, John C. McGinley, Ellen Green, Robert Picardo. These are some notable names in here, and they're all being wasted on this movie. And Charles Rocket in this movie, not one of two really bad comedies he was in this weekend. We'll get to that one in just a second. But yeah, there's nothing more to say about this one. Everyone was trying to make the next Blazing Saddles a much more safe and marketable Blazing Saddles, but you can't do it. It just can't be done. We've already had two Western comedies that tried to do that in 1994, and it didn't work. I mean, the closest we got to a good Western comedy this year was Maverick, and that worked on its own levels, and it worked because it didn't try to be Blazing Saddles again. But yeah, this movie was just terrible, a waste of talent all around, and sadly, it's the last reminder of the great legacy that John Candy left behind, and such a shame too. But like I said, he did end it. I mean, the last movie that officially came out with him, and it was a lot better. But not by much. But we'll get to that one whenever we get to that one. Let's just get away from Wagons East and talk about another terrible comedy from 1994 that came out this weekend, and that is It's Pat the Movie.
It's peculiar.
Yes, and yet wondrously provocative.
A cultural event of apocalyptic significance.
It's almost as if...
It may disturb you. It may even shock you.
Just leave me alone.
Oh, God. What the hell are you?
What do you think?
Are you a brother or a sister?
Well, I'm an only child.
As God is my witness, I will uncover the mystery that is Pat.
Pretty creepy, huh?
Pleased to meet you.
Gorgeous.
Do you have a photo of you in the nude?
Yes, I do, sir. I need some feminine napkins.
I am in hell now.
You never know when Aunt Wilma's going to stop by for lunch.
There's a word for what you are.
Charismatic?
This summer, if you think it's a man,
Pat, I'm in a towel. Should I be embarrassed?
Ouch.
if you're positive it's a woman,
Oh, this is something we'll both enjoy.
then there's one thing for sure.
What's Pat's laundry like?
There was, bras, panties, boxer shorts, jock straps.
It's Pat, the movie.
Oh, Pat. Is that a banana in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me?
No, it's a banana.
Wow, that was my first time ever seeing that trailer, honestly, and you could pretty much say that's why this movie was a massive failure, but, Wayne's World was such the big hit, and everybody wanted to make their next great SNL sketch into a movie type of thing, and, it worked a little bit with Coneheads and Wayne's World 2, but the thing about It's Pat is that it's a one-joke premise. Is Pat male or female? And as a sketch, it works because it's only about a 5 to 6 minute sketch, and it's something like, okay, we can let that slide, but when you try to release it as a movie, you get this mess of a film, and you know how it's bad when the studio doesn't even believe in it. It releases in 3 theaters, and only makes $60,000 in its release. Like Touchstone Pictures, Disney knew that this was bad to begin with. Like, that's how, it's like, you can see why. It's just a terrible movie. There's nothing funny in here. And the main reason why the movie fails is that there's nothing redeemable here. We don't even get to see if Patter's really a man or a woman or not. There's a scene where it gets revealed, but not to the audience, and it's just like, what's the point of making this movie if you're not even going to tell us what it is? Like, the critic made a joke that was much funnier than this. I mean, Julie Sweeney has been a great writer and comedian in the past. She's very funny. She's very earnest. She could be a great actress. Even she was very reluctant to do this movie, and it definitely shows when you watch this. And you want to know what the craziest thing about this movie is? One of the writers was Quentin Tarantino. Quentin Tarantino had a great movie that came out this weekend, Natural Born Killers, and then he has this name attached to this. He took his name off of it as an uncredited writer, but you can look it up and see that his name is still on it. But yeah, they waste a pretty good cast in here. You got Julie Sweeney, Dave Foley, Charles Rocket, Kathy Griffin, Julie Haggerty, Tim Stack, Mary Shear, Tim Meadows, Phil Lamar, Kathy Najimy. They even brought in Ween in here to be in the movie for some reason. I mean, it's really the worst adaptation of an SNL sketch you'll ever see. Like, there's been some really lackluster SNL movies since this movie came out, but this is the worst. Its biggest fault is that they add nothing new to the character. They kind of turn Pat into a real jerk in this movie. They don't answer the questions that we want to have answered. Like, this is what this movie should have been about. It's an unnecessary movie. At least with the Wayne's World movies, Coneheads, and the Blues Brothers, they managed to find different ranges of self-referential and over-the-top humor to make it work. But this doesn't work. You could tell that even Julia Sweeney didn't want to do this, but I guess she was maybe kind of forced into it. But regardless of what came after this from Saturday Night Live in terms of movies, this is easily the worst of the bunch. Avoid It's Pat the movie like the plague. So with that said, let's move on to the last movie. And this was a fun time finding this trailer because it's another one of those trailers where it's the movie is not what it's actually named to be. It's the name of it is supposed to be the Advocate, but when I found the trailer for this, it was called Hour of the Pig. But as you'll see in the trailer, it goes by the title that it's originally supposed to be, The Advocate.
He was a brilliant young lawyer.
Richard Courtois, I'm the new advocate. I'm looking forward to crossing swords with you.
Who left Paris for the quiet country life.
Was that a nice dream? I've got brothers.
But beneath the simple pleasures of a small town.
I could wish to make a prisoner.
Would you make a cold cell to keep him?
Not at all. The cell I would put him in is warm indeed, and he could wish never to come out again.
He uncovered a mystery and a seductive witness.
They saw the child killed. Courtois, I know you've been tumbling the black woman. Everybody knows.
It could be a conspiracy.
What did you hear? Very little. What very little did you hear?
It could be sorcery.
There's darkness all about you.
But to solve this mystery, he must defend the most unusual client any lawyer has ever had.
You say an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Gentlemen, this is insane. Where is order and rule? Robertus, is there something I should know? The boy's death was unnatural. The fine animal. A little wild. You can see the temptation. You know what they can do to you? They'll take you for witchery. Murder is murder. You promised her her life. Well, that would have been unlawful.
Colin Firth, Ian Holm, Nicole Williamson, and Lisette Anthony in a town full of lies.
The Lord have mercy on us.
Help me!
One man's search to find the truth.
He told me it would be stopped. Did you see his face? Did anybody see?
The Advocate, the original courtroom thriller.
Okay, I've never seen this movie, so I can't really comment on it, but this movie is notable for one specific reason, and I found this out while doing the research for it. It turns out when the Harvey Weinstein sexual abuse allegations started to break in 2017, One of the early accusers was an actress in this movie, Sophie Dix. And according to this, she had claimed that he performed an unwelcome sexual act in her presence after she was invited up to his room at the Savoy Hotel to watch some rushes for the Hour of the Pig, and she called the experience the single most damaging thing that happened in her life. And some of her scenes in the UK version of the film, which includes a very explicit sex scene, as well as a short voiceover, were trimmed or cut. And it was basically suggested that Weinstein had done this as retribution for her attempted rejection of his advances. So yeah, this movie has a notable piece of history for that. That's very interesting for a number of reasons, but I'm not going to get into that because that'd be a whole nother subject altogether. And like I said, I don't know too much about this movie. I don't really know about it because I haven't seen it. I can't really say much more about it, but no matter how you look at it, that's a very interesting piece of history to go with this film that probably they want to regret ever having there. I mean, as far as the movie goes, you got Colin Firth, Ian Holm, Donald Pleasance. Good cast involved, but yeah, that little bit of history now kind of changes the whole dynamic of this movie, and that's pretty much all I got for you because I have not seen this. So yeah, that's the Hour of the Pig, or The Advocate, or whatever you want to call it.